What would you do if your own family turned against you, believing a lie that shattered your world? My name is Ethan, and this is the story of how I lost everything: me home, my family, my name, and how I clawed my way back to something greater. It was a crisp autumn evening when my life unraveled. I was 19, living in our family's modest suburban home, where the scent of Mom's old lavender candles still lingered, though she'd been gone for years. My younger sister, Lila, 16 and sharp as a blade, had always been Dad's favorite. I didn't mind her charm was a light in our grieving house. But that night, her light turned venomous. I came home to find Dad's face like stone, holding his prized watch, an heirloom from Grandpa. "Ethan, how could you?" he growled. Lila stood behind him, eyes glistening with crocodile tears, claiming she'd seen me sneak into Dad's room and take it. I was stunned. "Dad, I'd never," but he cut me off, his voice a thunderclap. "You're a thief, Ethan. Get out." Lila's story was airtight. She'd found the watch in my room, tucked under my mattress. No matter how I pleaded, Dad's trust in me was gone. By midnight, I was on the street, my belongings in a duffel bag, my heart a tangle of betrayal and disbelief. The days that followed were a blur of cold nights and odd jobs. I crashed on friends' couches, worked as a dishwasher, and tried to make sense of Lila's lie. Why would she frame me? Was it jealousy? Spite? I'd always protected her, shared my savings when she needed new shoes, stayed up late helping with her homework. The sting of her betrayal cut deeper than Dad's rejection. But anger gave way to resolve. I wouldn't let their judgment define me. I found a small apartment, barely bigger than a closet, and enrolled in community college. I studied business, fueled by a quiet fire to prove them wrong. Nights were long, balancing work and school, but every textbook page turned was a step toward redemption. I didn't want revenge. I wanted to show them who I really was. 2 years later, I graduated with honors, landing a job at a local startup. My knack for problem-solving caught the owner's eye, and soon I was leading projects, my ideas turning profits. But the past wasn't done with me. One evening, I got a call from an old neighbor. Lila was in trouble, caught shoplifting, ironically, at a jewelry store. Dad, overwhelmed, had reached out to her friends, hoping someone knew where I was. I could have ignored it, let them stew in their mess, but something in me stirred. Family, even a broken one, wasn't so easy to let go. I drove back to that familiar house, heart pounding. Dad opened the door, older now, his eyes heavy with regret. Lila sat inside, defiant but shaken. "Ethan," Dad started, voice cracking. "I was wrong. I should have listened." Lila's gaze dropped, her silence louder than any apology. She'd framed me out of resentment. My part-time job had meant less attention for her, and she'd twisted it into a chance to hurt me. The truth spilled out, messy and raw, but it wasn't enough to erase the years of pain. I could have walked away, but I didn't. Instead, I sat with them, listening. Dad admitted his pride had blinded him. Lila confessed her guilt had gnawed at her since that night. I didn't forgive them right away. Trust is rebuilt, not given, but I offered something else: action. I paid for Lila's legal fees, connected her with a counselor, and helped Dad with the house repairs he couldn't afford. Not out of obligation, but because I'd learned that strength isn't in holding grudge, sits in rising above them. Months later, I invited them to a community event I'd organized, a fundraiser for at-risk youth. The startup had grown, and I'd poured my earnings into this project, wanting to give others the second chance I'd fought for. As Dad and Lila watched me speak to the crowd, their faces were a mix of pride and disbelief. I wasn't the thief they'd cast out. I was someone who'd built a life from ashes, who'd turned pain into purpose. That night, Dad pulled me aside, tears in his eyes. "You didn't just prove us wrong, Ethan. You showed us what family means." Lila hugged me, her first real gesture in years. I didn't need their approval anymore, but their presence felt like a wound finally healing. Life doesn't tie up neatly like a storybook. Lila and I are still mending, and Dad's learning to listen. But standing there, surrounded by people whose lives I'd touched, I knew I'd done more than survive. I'd shown that no lie, no betrayal, could define me. My actions, my choices did.